Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversation Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Well, it's a brand new day, it's a brand new week, and can you believe this week we're saying goodbye to August and welcoming in September? We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this Monday. We have a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you'll be part of my conversation with Hollywood manager and publicist Ramon Hervey discussing his new book, The Fame Game. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Monday headlines. In national news, NASA moon rocket on track for launch despite lightning hits. NASA's new moon rocket remained on track to blast off on a crucial test flight today despite a series of lightning strikes at the launch pad as of the time of this report. The 322-foot Space Launch System rocket is the most powerful ever built by NASA. It's poised to send an empty crew capsule into lunar orbit a half-century after NASA's Apollo program, which landed 12 astronauts on the moon. Astronauts could return to the moon in a few years if this 6-week test flight goes well. NASA officials caution, however, the risks are high and the flight could be cut short. In lieu of astronauts, 3 test dummies are strapped into the Orion capsule to measure vibration, acceleration, and radiation, one of the biggest hazards to humans in deep space. The capsule alone has more than 1,000 sensors. Officials said on Sunday that neither the rocket nor the capsule suffered any damage during Saturday's thunderstorm. Ground equipment also was unaffected. 5 strikes were confirmed, hitting the 600-foot lightning protection towers surrounding the rocket at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. The strikes weren't strong enough to warrant major retesting. Clearly the system worked as designed, said NASA's senior test director. More storms were expected, although forecasters gave 80% odds of acceptable weather today. Conditions were expected to deteriorate during the 2-hour lunch window. In more national news, judge plans to appoint special master in Trump's record case. A federal judge in Florida told the Justice Department on Saturday to provide her with more information about the classified records removed from former President Donald Trump's Florida estate and said it was her preliminary intent to appoint a special master in the case. The 2-page order from the U.S. District Judge signals that she's inclined to grant a request from Trump's lawyers, who this week asked for the appointment of an independent special master to oversee the reviews the record taken from Mar-a-Lago and identify any that may be protected by executive privilege and to ensure the return of any documents outside the scope of the search warrant. The judge scheduled a Thursday hearing to discuss the matter further, suggesting the Justice Department will have a chance to raise objections to the judge's intentions. In other recent high-profile cases in which a special master has been appointed, the person has been a former judge. In more national news, CNN management intent on changing perception of the network. It was the kind of story that media reporter Brian Stetler would normally sink his teeth into if only it didn't involve him. CNN said last week it was canceling Reliable Sources, its 30-year program on the media, and letting Stetler go, part of a nascent effort by new management to reclaim a brand identity that it feels was damaged during the Trump era. The news network, now under the Warner Discovery corporate banner and led since spring by CNN Worldwide Chairman Chris Light, is trying to inject more balance into its programming and become less radioactive to Republicans. How and whether that can be accomplished, says the Associated Press, remains a mystery. Former President Donald Trump portrayed CNN as an enemy, and a Pew Research Center study illustrated the impact that had with its followers. In 2014, Pew found that 1/3 of people who identify or lean Republican say they distrusted CNN as a source for political news. By 2019, the number had shot up to 58%, higher distrust than the New York Times, the Washington Post, or MSNBC. And that was before the overheated 2020 election campaign and the anger over its outcome. In sports, Mickey Mantle card breaks record as sports memorabilia soar. A mint-condition Mickey Mantle baseball card sold for $12.6 million on Sunday, blasting into the record books as the most ever paid for sports memorabilia in a market that has grown exponentially more lucrative in recent years. The rare Mantle card eclipsed the record just posted a few months ago, $9.3 million, for the jersey worn by Diego Maradona when he scored the contentious Hand of God goal in soccer's 1986 World Cup. All are part of a booming market for sports collectibles. Prices have risen not just for the rarest items, but also for pieces that might have been collecting dust in garages and attics. Many of those items make it onto consumer auctions like eBay, while others are put up for bidding by auction houses. And finally, in entertainment news, The Invitation tops tepid weekend at box office. The horror film The Invitation needed just $7 million to finish at the top of the weakest weekend of the summer at the North American box office, according to studio estimates on Sunday. That made the top 5 movies over the weekend. Number 1, The Invitation with $7 million. Number 2, Bullet Train with $6 million. Number 3, Beast with $5 million. Number 4, Top Gun Maverick with $5 million. And number 5, Dragon Ball Super Superhero with $5 million. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good Monday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Words I Choose to Live By. Just because something hasn't been done doesn't mean you won't be the one to accomplish it. Realize that you are greatness in the works. Do not be afraid to be amazing. Have an amazing Monday. We are part of my conversation coming up with Ramon Hervey in today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us. You're listening to Conversations Daily News. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with Entertainment Spotlight. Hollywood manager and publicist Ramon Hervey joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about his new book, The Fame Game. Here's a bit of our conversation. So I wanted to focus on a very particular part of the book in this conversation with you, Mr. Hervey, and that is the idea of fame itself, because we hear that word thrown around so much, fame, being famous. What has that been like for you to be able to talk to, especially young people, about the idea of what fame is?
Well, I'm not out there preaching about it, to be honest. But in the book, I explain my philosophy on it. And again, I think my sense of fame is it's not a destination; it's an accolade. So, in order to become famous, you have to become successful first. And if you look through the history of the words, they are two different things. Fame is a sense of entitlement that you get when you're successful, and it can be very destructive, it can be very influential. It really depends on how you treat it, how you respect it, how you honor it. But it's also very fleeting, and most people aren't going to be famous throughout their whole life, whether they get 15 minutes or not. So I think you have to be grounded and have a sense of what do you do with your life when you're not famous. What do you fall back on, because it's not going to sustain itself. And so I think those are the lessons that I think young people have to understand is when you invest in the idea of becoming famous, what are you really investing in? Are you investing in yourself? Are you investing in the idea that you want to be entitled and you think that if you become famous, you're going to get all this money and people are going to be kowtowing to you and doing everything? It really depends on your mentality and what you hope to achieve.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning into this edition of Conversations Daily News. We'll get on tomorrow with more news, message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and of course your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Then let's go make it a great one.